What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be taking a look at Sam Honzek, a player with pro size, reliable two-way instincts, and a prospect whose stock has fallen quite a bit. Honzek was drafted 16th overall in the first round of the 2023 NHL draft by the Calgary Flames. At the time, Honzek was praised for his size and his puck protection. He also was seen as a player with impressive mobility considering the size. Now, personally speaking, when the Flames picked Honzek, I wasn't very excited. I saw other players on the board, such as Axel Sandin-Pellikka, Gabriel Perreault, as well as Andrew Cristall. These guys were on the board and at the time were ranked well ahead of Honzek. And now in hindsight, I think I still would have taken those guys ahead of him. Now, at the time, he was coming off a strong draft year with the Vancouver Giants in the WHL. He posted 23 goals and 56 points in 43 games. So not bad production, but again, the 43 games and an injury-riddled season led to some worry at the time. The reason why he was out was because of his ankle injury, which he sustained at the 2023 World Juniors. That kept him out for over 2 months, but he returned to form before season's end, and the Flames clearly saw something in him. Honzek signed a 3-year entry-level contract with the Calgary Flames on July 26, 2023. After being drafted, Honzek returned to the Vancouver Giants in the 2023-2024 WHL season, and he was also named captain. He put up 10 goals and 31 points, but again, he only played 33 games, once again dealing with injuries. This time it was a wrist issue, and that caused him to miss time in the back half of the season. Despite missing the games, however, his production remained pretty steady. He was right around a point per game, and his leadership and effort were definitely encouraging to see at the time. He also represented Slovakia internationally and was a pretty key piece in their 2024 World Juniors run. In 5 games played, he recorded 3 goals, an assist, and 4 points, which is not bad production. He was also a +3 during that tournament. Last training camp, Honzek impressed quite a bit. One thing I remember was that pretty sweet goal against Seattle, where he fought off Vince Dunn, one of the best defenders in the NHL, and used like a pretty insane power forward move, took it across the net and scored. And that's really what I think the Flames had seen out of this player when they took him. However, I think he just hasn't had the consistency to have those flashes every single game that he plays. So as I mentioned, he did impress in his preseason games, and this actually resulted in him making the team. He played for 5 games. He didn't have any points. He averaged around 12 minutes per game, recorded 6 shots on goal, and had 2 penalty minutes. Unfortunately, he also got absolutely rocked by, I think it was Connor Murphy, which led to him getting injured, and he missed a few weeks. Eventually, he returned back to the AHL, playing for the Calgary Wranglers, where he recorded 8 goals, 13 assists for 21 points in 52 games. So not the best production. He averaged around 0.4 points per game. I remember going to a few games for the Wranglers where he really didn't stand out. So while his production in the AHL last season really wasn't anything crazy, I think that a lot of players have an initial time period where they need to adjust to the AHL, and not everybody's gonna be like Matt Coronado, just come in and basically be a point per game. So I foresee him probably needing another year in the AHL to just try to get at that point per game level and to stay healthy. In terms of his current strengths, again, he was drafted for his size and net front presence, and that's still one of his strengths. At 6'4" and nearly 200 pounds, Honzek is pretty difficult to move off the puck once he has it, so he's pretty good at possession, and he's also a really good presence at the crease. He's not really a heavy hitter, but he can lean on defenders, and again, he can protect the puck well. Another strength of his is his defensive awareness and positioning. Even in junior, Honzek stood out for his attention to detail on the defensive side, and he tracks back pretty responsibly and plays a pro-style 200-foot game. Lastly, a final strength of his is kind of off the ice. His resilience is something I actually do admire, and I think it will translate to the NHL. The perseverance and the ability to overcome mental hurdles year after year, being injured from an ankle injury to a wrist injury to being absolutely rocked in one of your first NHL shifts, I think will be hugely important for him in the remainder of his NHL career. Now, looking at areas to improve his offensive consistency, again, we've seen flashes of this guy going out there and literally dominating the ice, but it just doesn't happen every single shift the way you need it to happen if you're trying to become an impact player at the NHL level. And lastly, I would say working on durability is a point of improvement for him. He's basically had 3 consecutive seasons with missed time due to injuries, an ankle, then a wrist, and then of course that pretty big hit. This does raise mild concerns about durability and whether he can stay healthy during a full season. Of course, he's come back every time, but again, missing so much time really is going to hinder his development reps. In terms of his potential and his future role, again, in my opinion, he does not really project to be a top line scorer in the NHL. He's also played center a bit, but I kind of see him more as a winger. I think it's pretty reasonable to expect him to play third line, but maybe in the event of an injury, you could plug him in on the second line and he can kind of eat up those minutes. Now, looking at comps, Darren Haynes on Twitter a few months back wrote a very interesting article about Sam Honzek. He was basically sampling past NHL players that were drafted between 11th and 21st overall and whose frames were 6'3" and taller. He went back to 2000 and looked at about 24 players who matched the criteria, as well as who played 300 plus career NHL games. Now, the names that made the NHL in their third year post-draft, it includes the likes of Martin Necas, Jeff Carter, and Martin Hanzal. But I think in terms of comparables that match Honzek's profile the most are 2 players who made the NHL in their 4th year post-draft, and that includes Lawson Krause as well as Nick Bjugstad. Honzek's frame, reach, and ability to protect the puck are reminiscent of Bjugstad in his prime. Both players are big-bodied centers who can play responsible two-way game, chip in offensively here and there, and also play anywhere in the lineup, maybe shifting between the second and third lines depending on the need. Now, looking at Lawson Krause as another comparable, like Honzek, Krause brings a blend of size, skating, and physicality to the wing, and he does have flashes of offense. Like, he did put up 20 to 25 goals for 3 seasons straight with the Arizona Coyotes, and while he doesn't project as a true top-line scorer, he did turn into the kind of power forward that was immensely useful for Arizona at the time. There were actually quite a few players that made the NHL in years 5 through 7. This list also included Joel Eriksson-Ek, Alex Tuck, Anthony Mantha, Gabe Vilardi, Chris Kreider. This does indicate that with a player like this, with his size, where he was drafted, and looking at players who fit that description in previous years, it might be worth just waiting him out, as you could get a pretty decent player with significant upside down the road. You just have to stay patient. Now, barring another significant injury in training camp, Honzek will likely start the 2024-2025 season in the AHL with the Wranglers, and I'm hoping he can grab hold of a top 6 spot and play power play as well as penalty kill minutes. I think this season will be huge for Honzek to prove that he's a player that can play a full season, not get injured. So to wrap up, Sam Honzek is not a flawless player. He definitely has injury concerns. He doesn't have the greatest offensive tools, and he's not very consistent in his offense. He is, however, physically mature. He has leadership and has good size. He could have untapped offensive potential. He just needs to stay healthy so that we can know what he is at the NHL level. He may not be the flashiest prospect, and his stock has definitely fallen over the last year or so, but I think we really forget that this is a player that made the team out of training camp last season, and if it weren't for injuries, I think he probably would have stayed in the NHL for a bit longer. His all-around toolkit gives him a strong chance of becoming an everyday NHL contributor on the third line, with the possibility of even moving up to the second line. I think ultimately we'll just have to be patient. He's not the first example of a player with size who just needed more time to develop. So what do you think of Honzek's long-term ceiling? Do you see him as a centerman at the NHL level, or do you think he profiles more as a winger? Please hit like, subscribe, and let me know what you guys think about this player. And I'll see you guys in the next video.